Welcome back to my podcast. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Review by Top Shelf Tammie. While I got you here, do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below if you are watching on YouTube. That will be greatly appreciated. I'm really excited today because this starts our second series. So if you're still here with me, then we wrapped up our first series of books, which was like an introduction to the podcast, which was my favorite books. So now we are done with that, and we can kind of get into the real nitty gritty for real. So I'm excited. We start our second set of books today, and yeah, let's jump right on in. Um, I am I'll give you guys a little introduction first. I am like really excited about these books because I was able to pull three standalones. So we don't have to do like multiple books or a series, not yet anyway, or whatever. So we're going to do three standalones. I feel like standalones are really easy reads. They're complete stories. You don't have to check back with the author to see if something is complete or not. So it's just like, boom, you know, you're in it, you got it, you're done. So I'm excited about those. So like I said, we got three standalones. I'm gonna jump right in, and we're gonna get to reviewing. Oh, you know what? I will say this because on the first episode, I was very kind of teetering between if I would do reviews for books I didn't like, and I kind of came to a little bit of a resolve, and I decided that I would not. But it is a kind of a catch to it. Just going through these books this week for the second series. So this is kind of how we'll do it. If I am able to finish a book, but I probably wouldn't give it 5 stars, but I was able to finish it, I will review it. So that's how we'll do that. If I'm able to finish a book, then I will review it. If I start a book and it's just like something that's just not for me and I cannot get through it, then those books I won't review. So yes, so we might have some books that I'm gonna finish that the reviews might not be stellar, but it was something about the book that drew me in enough to finish the book because I actually came across some of the books like that this week. So out of 6 books, I actually narrowed it down to 3 that I was able to finish. Um, and a couple of them I loved. One of them, not so much, but we'll get into that. All right, right? So the first book we are going to start with is called The Billionaire's Wedding Guest. And that book is by Black Lavish. So, I won't do a build up because it's really not a build up to this book. I don't think this was my first time reading a book about Black Lavish, but I don't want to give too much away right now. So I'll just keep it like that. This was not one of my first reads by her, but this was not a reread. This was a fresh book that I found this week, and I was able to finish it. So we will get into The Billionaire's Wedding Guest review. All right. So again, the author is Black Lavish. The setting is upstate New York, in the New York area. This book was published this year, May 25th, 2005. The main characters, as you guys know, they have a part of speaking in a book. So the main characters is Kelly, Stone, Angel, Brad, and Rebecca. So quite a few, but even better, right? Even better. So it was a couple errors in the book. It wasn't too many errors. And then we had a vocabulary word, and the vocabulary word was maladaptive, which means poor or inadequate adaptation which just mean poor adjustment. So I think I just threw like the vocabulary words in there because I do feel like reading, you do come across a lot of vocabulary, and it is a good way to expand your vocabulary. So this week I did add vocabulary words or word, whichever ones, however many I end up like running across. That's the way that we apply it. So that was a word I hadn't seen before, so I want to familiarize myself with the word. So yeah. Now jumping right into our book report questions. Alrighty. So, was the book engaging? The book was very engaging. This is a book that I gave 5 stars, so I'll go ahead and tell you that now off the bat. I gave this book 5 stars. This book was on a scale of 1 to 5. So okay, cool. So I gave this book 5 stars. The book was very engaging. She had a prologue that was like great. It really got you to like, okay, let's see what the rest of this book is about. It draws you in, and then throughout the book, it was very engaging. It was very engaging. A lot of twists and a lot of turns because again, we have the point of view from a lot of different characters. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a point of view from 5 characters. So I think with that, the book stays very engaging because you can also kind of get into the character and then just not the point of view from another character's point of view. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely keeps you very engaged. Was the plot predictable? No. Like, everybody has secrets in this book, but they weren't secrets that you would have guessed what they were. So that's the one y'all just gonna have to look out for. Y'all gonna be like on the edge of y'all seat. Since I kind of gave it away that everybody got secrets, y'all gonna be looking forward to that now. But I want to say the characters actually give it away very early in the book that they have secrets as well. Like, everybody started off like, hope they don't find out my secret. So I didn't get too much away. About what saying that they had secrets, because like all the characters got secrets, and I think they gonna let us know like pretty soon. I got secrets. Again, the plot was not predictable. I have one more little note here. It said every time I kind of thought I had the story figured out, it kind of went in a different direction. So yeah, the plot was not predictable. So that was a good one for her. The book strengths. So the book gave a lot of great backstory and a lot of details for it to be a standalone. So I think that was one of the book's strengths. I know a lot of times when you read a series, because the author is going to do a series and it's 3 books, they can kind of get very, very detailed within the character. But I think that's a challenge. That's a little bit different when you're doing a standalone, because it's like, I only got 1 book. I have to draw you in. I have to give you backstory. I have to give so many elements to the story and the plot, and it's a standalone. And I got a limited amount of time to do that. So I think that was one of the book strengths. They gave just enough without dragging the story for it to be a standalone. So it wasn't quite in and out, but it definitely hit the main key points to draw you in, give you enough backstory, and still wrap this thing up in 1 book. So that was definitely a strength to me. The book weaknesses was none. I didn't think it was a weakness with this book. I think at the end of the book, all the questions are answered. I think we get enough details about the characters. It was really complete to me. It was definitely complete to me. So no weaknesses there. Was the plot believable? Yes, I think this plot is believable if you run in these type of circles or whatever, this type of so let me say this. Backtrack a little bit. So the book is called The Billionaire's Wedding Guest. So the circle that I mean is the upper crust of people, billionaires, millionaires, and people that are like models and high exec jobs and things like that. So yes, I think the story is believable if you are in that type of setting with people. then yes, these things can happen, because it's gonna be some things in here that's gonna happen that you're gonna have a little cha-ching for. You're gonna have to have a little coin for this to be like, yeah, this plot is believable, right? So yeah, it's believable if you are with them rich people. Yes. Um, did the book make you care about the characters? Um, Absolutely. Again, the book gave great backstory with just enough details to draw you in to become concerned. Um, it gave a good backstory with all the people, the sweet, the mean, the rich. Gave good backstory to make you care about everybody. And at the end, you care about everybody. And I think that's one of the things that I actually take into consideration when I finish a book, is that I care enough to ask these questions at the end part, right? So that's how you know if you care. Because if you can wrap up a book and it's a character that don't really get an ending and you ain't kind of questioning them, then yeah, you ain't care. But she did a good job, so you kind of, yeah, it does make you care. Trigger warnings. So it was murder in this book, and it was drug abuse. That was it. So not too many trigger warnings. Just throw them out there, mention it if you don't want to read that type of thing. Is the book accurate? Yes, I feel like the timelines fit, and it was no confusion there. So it is the billionaire's wedding guest. So it's like how much time can happen as a wedding guest, right? So the book takes place over a weekend. So it wasn't really like too many. It wasn't too many, like, so it's no. So I take that back. Not too many. It's no jumps in the story. It's just the weekend. Just a slight thing. It was a lot happened in this weekend, and I feel like, okay, this had to be more than 2 or 3 days, kind of a little bit, or like somebody didn't go to sleep. In order to make all this happen, somebody didn't go to sleep. But for the most part, yes, the storyline fit, and the book was accurate. So yes, we give this book a 5 stars. I would definitely recommend you guys reading this book. Again, I enjoyed this book a lot. It was a standalone. It was definitely a good read. It's some things that happened in this story that is definitely gonna have you on the edge of your seat, and you're gonna want to be like, what happened? What happened? What happened? Right? So yes, so The Billionaire's Wedding Guest, Black Lavish. The review, we recommend you. All right, we are going to move on. Okay, guys, so now we are going to move on to the reading for The Billionaire's Wedding Guest. Later tonight, when the roads are quiet and the trees are still. The Hudson Bay is only 5 miles up the road, and dropping him in with heavy rocks will make him disappear forever. Right? Okay, so that's just a little tease of The Billionaire's Wedding Guest. So, as I stated before, The Billionaire's Wedding Guest had 5 stars from us by Black Lavish. And again, the review, we recommend you. Yes, right? All right. So now moving on to our second book today. Our second book, moving on. Alrighty, so our second book today is going to be, drum roll please, Dark Hunger, Vampire Romance by Melanie Lynch. Alrighty. So, I'm trying to see in what order should I give y'all this one. Let's just start with the book report. We're gonna start with the book report, okay? So again, this book was Dark Hunger, Vampire Romance. So this one is the one I tried to do a like a sci-fi paranormal experience. So tried to throw one of those in there this week. And that was that book, as you can tell from the title. So again, the author is Melanie Lynch. The setting, they did not mention the setting. This is a standalone, so that's not kind of unusual because, of course, standalones go very fast, and sometimes they lack details because it's not a full series where the author can get off, so many details because we got 3 books, but standalone, so not unusual. This is a older read. Book was published 10/20/2023. The main character is Davina. The errors were very little, just very little errors. No vocabulary for this book. All right. So engaging. Was the book engaging? The book was somewhat engaging. The details of the beginning of the book, I feel like it definitely drew me in to the point where I was like, okay, what's happening next? What's going on? What's happening next? Right? So yeah, it was somewhat engaging. It did make you want to, keep reading. Was the plot predictable? No, the plot wasn't predictable, but more so in a way where the author was kind of unsure where she was going, so you can't really guess. It was almost like she was making it up on a whim, because just like when you kind of get the hang of where you think the story is going, then it didn't kind of go that way, but not in a good way, kind of, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't predictable, but not predictable in a good way. The book strengths. The book started out good. And it was an interesting storyline. So that is the book strengths to me. The book weaknesses, it was a lot of missing information at the end. When I got to the end, it was a lot of unanswered questions. So that was just one of the book weaknesses to me, was just like kind of holes in the plot. Does the book achieve its goal of keeping the reader entertained? A little. I would say that it kept me entertained and it drew me in just enough for me to finish. But I'm one of those people, like when I'm reading a book, I kind of like to cheat a little bit. And what I mean cheat is I look to see if you are doing it electronically, like you don't know where you are in the book. So I'll look to see where I am. And I think I did that in this book because it was like getting good, right? And then I looked to see where I was, and I think I was like 85%. And at that point, I knew something was wrong because I felt like I should have been more at like 40% of like what I read. And when I think that I was at 85%, I was like, yeah, it's no way that this story about to wrap up the way that it should wrap up for it to be like a complete story. And my prediction was correct. So did it keep, so again, does the book keep the reader entertained? Its goal of keeping the reader entertained? Yes, because I finished it. Yeah. A believable plot and dialogue for the story, the type of story that it was. Yes, because again, this was a sci-fi, paranormal, vampire. So again, when you are dabbling in those type of worlds, that's a very unique, creative world. It's no right or wrong to that. So from what the story gave, yeah, it was a believable plot and dialogue. And accuracies, it wasn't any accuracies. The story took place over a couple days time, so it wasn't no big like period time jumps or anything like that, so it wasn't much room for it to be inaccuracies. So that was fine, like everything lined up. Trigger warnings. There was attempted rape and a little bit of the killing in the story. So that is that's about it. And that kind of wraps up the book report for The Dark Hunger Vampire Romance. As you can tell, that book report, it went kind of fast because I actually gave this book only 2.5 stars. Oh, so sorry. This is my first not 5-star review. So it's a little different for me. So again, I only gave this book 2.5 stars because, like I said, when I got to the end of the book and when I cheated a little bit to kind of see where I was in the book, I can tell that if I was already at 85%, then a lot of things was going to be missing from this book, and it was. When we got to the end, it was just too many unanswered questions for me. It was like I said, it was like the author started out going in one direction, then she kind of went in another direction, and then it was like, okay, that kind of didn't fit. So yeah, but would I recommend somebody to read this book? Would I recommend you guys to read this book? I would say this. If you are looking for a short read, like a very short read, because it was, I want to say this book probably was like an hour and 15 minutes. So if you like about to take like a short plane ride or a train trip or something like that, I would recommend it. I would say, yeah, go ahead and do it, because it's not, I hate to say it like that, but it's not a lot of your time wasted. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like I said, this book could have had maybe a couple more chapters and it could have been a great story. So that's why I'm still recommending it, because the potential is like there. The story started out good, the backstory, the plot, everything was there. Like if she would have added like maybe one or two more paragraphs, I mean, not paragraphs, I'm sorry, chapters, or maybe one good one from another person in the story, this would have been great. Like it would have been a great read. So, but unfortunately, I gave the book 2.5 stars. Like I said, it's a short read. So this one is kind of like on you if you wanna, read it or not. How about this? We do the reading. And you can kind of see if the reading kind of draws you in a little bit more. So again, it's only an hour book. It's not too much of a waste of time. It still started out really great, and that's the reason why I was able to finish the book. Like started and get to a certain point, it was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna finish it. So it started out great. It had much potential. So I definitely feel like it's not a waste. But unfortunately, I'm not going to say the review we recommend this book, because there's just too many books in the world to kind of read something that we don't get 5 stars. So yeah, I'm not. So the review, we can't recommend this book. But if you feel like you're not as hard of a critic as I am, then go ahead and read the book, especially after I finish the reading. Maybe that'll convince you or give you a little bit more of an idea of the book. Okay? Cool. All right, so we are going to still do the reading, and it's a short book, so it's going to be a short chapter probably. Shane lit up another blunt and looked at me. I will give you half of the score on one condition. I knew there had to be something else to it. And what's that? I just need you to drive us there and back. Right? So like I said, it was a good book to draw you in and get you to finish reading the story. It was good enough for me to finish reading the story. Again, I gave it 2.5 stars. And that was it. So, moving on. We are going to get into our last book of the series this week. Alrighty, and then that book is called, little drum roll, When It's Real. And this book is by Nicole R. Jackson. And I am going to give it away and say this was my favorite book this week. I'm sorry. Look, y'all don't even got to wait to the end to know that it's going to get a 5-star rating. This was my favorite book this week. It was a great book. I'm not going to do like a big drum up to it type of thing. We're just going to jump into it and get to the book report. Alrighty. So the author was Nicole R. Jackson. The setting was Houston, Texas. This was a newer book. It was published on 3/31/25, so a couple months ago. The main characters in this book is Baby and Faith. errors in this book. It was some errors. It's more than a couple errors, but it wasn't enough to be too big of a distraction to the story, but it was some errors. Vocabulary, I did have a word. It's called, the word is surmised. A thought or idea based on scanty evidence. To assume with little evidence. So again, that was a word I think I haven't came across before. So yeah, vocabulary word. All right, jumping right into the rest of the questions. Was the book engaging? Very engaging. Like, the book started off with good details, a good backstory, with women gossiping, and then they got to fighting. So yes, the book was very engaging. Like, we jumped off the porch. She jumped off the porch. Like, yeah, get in here and read this book. Right? All right. Predictable plot. All right. So yes and no on a predictable plot. Like, you know it was going to be some stuff that happened in a particular type of way, but you just didn't know how it was coming. So, of course, you know, some people get done wrong and people want they get back, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know that, but you don't know how it's coming. So the plot wasn't too predictable. I think she did a real good job of kind of keeping you on your toes and keeping you guessing. The book's strengths. Again, this book had great backstory for a standalone, and also that it was very relatable. So this book is going to be more like set in a hood, set of a more normal, well, I won't say normal because normal for who, but it's set in the hood and it's more of an actual day-to-day life. So it's relatable. The book weaknesses. It did have one, y'all. It had a weakness. So the ending was, the book, weaknesses to me was, I felt like the ending was kind of rushed. But all the questions were still answered though. So again, by this being a standalone, it's like, you know, the author is working with a limited amount of time. So it's like, it got to give you the backstory. It got to give you the plot. It got to give you the characters. It got to wrap it on up. It got to have a climax of the book. It got to have a conclusion of the book. So I get, you know, when it's like a lot of information to be added to a standalone. But I felt like the way that the story ended, she was just like, let's get it over with. And got it over with. So the ending was a little bit rushed to me, but all of my questions were answered. So it wasn't no loose ends. Everything was tied up perfectly. But we could have slowed it down just a little bit in the end. Did the book make you care about the characters? Yes. The book definitely made you care about the characters. Like I said, it gives you good backstory, and it also gives you current story to make you care about the characters. I think, like I said, the book started off with a fight, and it was the main character. She was fighting for something like she believed in, so it automatically like, oh, she's a good person, and show a softer side of her. It draws you in. So the book definitely makes you care about the characters. Was the plot believable? Yes, because it's a hood love story and things like that. It happens every day. So yes, the plot and the story was believable. Is the book accurate? Yes. I feel like we did have some timeline progression, but it's still all lined up. So the book was accurate. The trigger warnings, are there any trigger warnings in the book? No. I know this is like, look, a little hood love story, but it wasn't any trigger warning. So that's actually a plus. So we could get a good love hood romance with no trigger warnings. Clean. I like that. So yes. So When It's Real by Nicole R. Jackson, I gave this book 5 stars. So the review, we recommend you, honey. So yes, y'all, this book is my favorite of the series this week. Great read. So now we are going to jump into the reading of the passages. So stick with me just a tad bit longer so I can bring you to the edge of the cliff. But again, we're not jumping off. You got to jump off at home by yourself reading the book. But yeah, I'll give you a couple of the passages just to kind of bring you in and help you understand why I like this story and why I gave the book the 5-star rating. Okay, guys, so we are going to do the reading for When It's Real. But I had long ago stopped fucking with hood rats. So I was trying to ignore the attraction until she wouldn't just get with the program. Then it stayed on my mind. She stayed on my mind. But I told myself that I wasn't fucking no bird. And then she come through looking like some upper echelon bougie bitch. I was confused. And my dick was about to bust through my fucking jeans. All right. So that was just a little bit of baby and summer face part. Again, like I said, When It's Real by Nicole R. Jackson was my favorite book this week. So you guys, I definitely recommend you to read this book. The review, we reviewed it and we recommend it to you. Right? Okay, guys, so I'm not going to hold you any longer. So you can get to your reading. If you guys would like to follow me, my IG is topshelf_Tammie. My TikTok is topshelftammie. And if you are a author who would like a book or a poem review on the show, you can email me at ts_tammiepie@yahoo.com. If you are a viewer who would like to leave your review, you can also email me at ts_tammiepie@yahoo.com and possibly have it read on the show here. So yes, guys, until next time, until next week, where we will be doing our book club discussion questions on these books. I'll see you then, guys. Bye.